What's up, guys? Ivan Carranza here, and welcome to Bass Tone Tuesday. Today, we're gonna talk about the timbre of the notes around the neck. Recently, a user here on YouTube asked me why I was starting to play a groove starting in this position of the neck and then moving around instead of just sticking to one position to be able to play as many notes as possible and getting some more economy of motion, so to speak. And my answer was that, the sound is different. And he went on to ask, yeah, but is it something that only you notice it? Because, I can just stay in one position and play everything a lot easier without having to move. But the thing is that even if you play the same note and the same octave of that note in different positions of the neck, the tone, the timbre of the note is going to change. I'm going to demonstrate this real quick. I can play, for example, a D on the 5th fret of the A string. I can also play an open D string. And those two already sound different. Now you could argue that they sound different because one is fretted, one is open, but I'm going to play the same octave but in the E string. And they sound different. I can do the same with the octave of D. It's a different kind of sound. And where you play, a note definitely is going to create a different vibe for the listener. I'm going to do another note, for example. I'm going to play an A. So it's kind of different tone. And like I mentioned earlier, it depends on the situation that you're in. For example, if you're reading music, you probably want to have economy of motion and because you're focused on the paper and what you want to play. But if you're in a more like pop, rock, funk, blues environment where you have more control and more freedom where you're going to play something, instead of having to focus on reading for the first time a piece of music or getting it right, you can change and pick where you're going to play the notes depending on what kind of emotion and what kind of effect you want to generate for the audience. Generally, if you play across the neck, like horizontally, the notes up here, even though they're an octave higher or higher than the previous notes down below, they're going to carry a bit more weight. For example, this is C and this is G. The difference with it's a different kind of sound. And you can try this yourself at home. If you just, stay next to your speaker, to your cabinet, and just play the two notes a bit loud so you get more of the effect, you're going to feel physically the effect of those two different notes. One of them moves more air than the other one. Now, that doesn't mean that it is always right to play up here. If you want the notes to poke a bit more, to be a bit more snappy, you probably want to stay in the lower register. But for example, if I slap or pop a C here compared to, it's a different tone. And you might want to get that snappy kind of attack from notes down here instead of having to move up the neck. But being aware that the positions of where you play things have an effect on the overall character of the sound is definitely a very important thing to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that depending on what kind of line you're playing, you might want to keep an overall balance of tone, so to speak, across the whole range of the line. You could play, for example, something like that, but you're jumping across 3 strings. This C sounds much thinner than this note. You might naturally compress that range by playing something like this. That way, the overall span of the waveform, so to speak, is kind of reduced and your sound is going to be more consistent. What you can do is take a bass line that you know, or a song that you know, and try to play the exact same notes but in different positions of the neck, just to see how that sounds like. And just to give you an example, I'm gonna play something very simple. Or for example, the exact same notes. Or you know, and different positions of the neck open up also different phrasing and articulation opportunities, like I did just right now with this slide. You can slide to in this position, right? So paying attention to the note positioning around the neck can help you and your band or an artist sound better, because once you know that you can play a bass line or a phrase in different positions of the neck, making it sound, you know, either fatter or more percussive or snappier, you can change the overall landscape of sound to serve the particular song or show. I hope you guys found this helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments, and also don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the content that's coming to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.